This is Patrick from the PIMS Pro. Today I'm going to discuss some tips and tricks about inventory reconciliation in PIMS. Now, before you start reconciling your inventory, it's always important to consider cleaning up everything that you can ahead of time. Just take a look at your sales orders, make sure you don't have items that are hiding before you count. Post all of your invoices and really try to do this outside of business hours because inventory is always moving and you want your inventory count to improve the accuracy of your inventory, not make it less accurate. So, to get to the inventory reconciliation process in PIMS, you're going to start at your main splash screen and go to File and choose Other Menus. Then you're going to go to the Inventory Reconciliation menu and choose New Inventory Reconciliation. And we're going to select our location. In this case, I'm going to use my main location. And from here, we get a form that looks, very similar to a sales order where we have multiple fields for entering our line items. I'm going to go ahead and put my employee ID in here. And I could start adding lines and counting inventory that way. Or I could do the quick scan load. So I'm going to try that first. I'll click this little box that says load serial number with quick scan. And when I click this button, PIMS is going to allow me to use a barcode scanner with audio cues so that I don't have to look at the screen when I'm counting inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and click the button now.
Scan part number.
And PIMS says scan part number. Now, if I have multiples of the same part, I can just keep scanning the same part over and over again.
Scan part number. Scan part number. Scan part number. Scan part number.
And then I can move on to something that maybe requires a serial number.
Scan part number.
And keep on moving.
Scan part number. Scan part number.
When I'm finished, I can click Cancel.
Canceled.
And this will load in my account. So what you'll see is that we have a very large discrepancy in 20-watt power bricks, MacBook Airs, LaCie drives. But if this is actually correct, I'm going to want to account for this in my general ledger. So in order to account for the loss or gain, we're going to calculate discrepancies. And in this case, we've lost $11,183 worth of inventory. And I'm going to want to go ahead and load this discrepancy to my general ledger by clicking this button over here. So you can see that this is going to, the first line on this journal entry is showing that it's going to decrease my inventory by $11,183.43. Now I need to create a line to balance that. I typically recommend having some sort of a cost of sales GL account. In my case, I use something that I call either shrinkage or gained loss. So this is our Brattleboro inventory. So this is going to increase this cost of goods account and decrease my inventory. So if I'm good with that, I can go ahead and post this. Now that accounts for the inventory change in my accounting. But now we would actually want to post these inventory changes to our full inventory and make it reflected in PIMS. So I'm going to go to Functions, and I'm going to choose Clear On Hands. Now they're warning you that really you should not do this while your inventory is moving. I'm sure. And we're going to say, so in this case, if I choose All Records, PIMS is going to zero everything in my inventory. So my whole inventory goes to 0. I really only want to affect these 4 items in this case. So I'm going to say just those listed. And I'm going to clear just those 4. So now these 4 items in PIMS in my main location have 0 stock. If I want to update this to reflect what I've counted, Then I go back to functions and I choose update on hands. And do your counts include held items? In my case, I would say yes. Anything that I've got set aside on a sales order that's still here was counted. We're going to click continue, and then OK, and then yes, and then update. So PIMS gives you quite a few shots here to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So we've now updated these 4 items in our inventory. This is how you would do a small inventory reconciliation where you're not necessarily trying to count your whole store. I'm going to go back now and do a new inventory reconciliation showing you how you may want to approach doing your whole store. So in this case, I'm going to do a new reconciliation, and I'm going to count everything.
Scan part number.
We'll just pretend I'm going to scan 1 or 2 things, and then we'll just give up.
Scan part number. Scan part number. Part number. Scan part number.
Okay, so I click cancel.
Canceled.
We've got these 2 items that have been counted, but I really want to count my entire inventory. So I can click this list missing, and what this is going to do is PIMS is going to go out and look for anything that has inventory on hand that is not in this list. And I'm going to go ahead and click cancel to this search editor. This does take a moment. And there are multiple great ways to do an inventory count. This one is going to just load all of the items that we had not accounted for in these in our initial count. But after we finish this, I'm going to propose another way. So from here, I can go ahead and hit load missing. And now we have a long list that we would want to review and essentially calculate the discrepancies and post the differences to our general ledger. Then clear and update. So this would be for a full inventory, doing everything in the inventory reconciliation window. When you're all finished and everything is done, I recommend checking this little reviewed without discrepancies button. But I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to show you another way. So one thing that I like to do, I like to work in a spreadsheet. I live in spreadsheets. So you can possibly just draw an inventory list for your location. And this is going to give you all of your missing items as well for the location that you're in. I can export this. And then I can open it with a spreadsheet application. I typically use Excel. This computer doesn't have Excel, so I'm going to just use numbers real quick. So from here, this is everything that my main location has in inventory. If I want to do my count in a spreadsheet and then bring it into PIMS later, we're going to need to make sure and match the columns that PIMS would expect to import. I've got that in this spreadsheet over here, and that is part number, product name, count, on hand, holding, cost, price. So what I don't need then would be on order, in transit, or available. I'm going to delete those columns. And I'll insert a count, cost, and price. And we do want to make sure they're in the exact order that we see over here. So it looks like count needs to move to before on hand. Price is column G, count is column C. We've got it. Now I don't need the prices for this. I'm going to just go ahead and reduce this spreadsheet down to a few lines so that it imports faster. So I'm going to go ahead and just pretend I'm going to count 43 of these, 22, 20, and then I'll just pretend that the rest of these are correct. And we want to save this as tab separated values. If you were using Excel, you would choose Macintosh formatted text. In numbers, I'm going to export as TSV. So I'm going to say full main count. I'll put it out on the desktop. Go ahead and delete that. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my inventory count window. And we're going to pretend this was the full inventory. I just made a very small one so that we could go quickly. Main location. I put my initials in. And I can choose import right here. I'll choose full main count. And you'll see that I was able to import what I did in my spreadsheet. Now this doesn't account for serial numbers. Honestly, I tend to, this inventory reconciliation window can add serial numbers that are missing, but it can't remove serial numbers that are missing from your inventory. So anything that's serialized that you need to fix serial numbers on, you're going to want to make a list of those items and fix the serial number files separately. So my general intention is to get the actual counts correct, and then items that have discrepancies will go and fix the serial numbers separately. So my preference, this is the way I like to do things because I really like to work from a spreadsheet, and it makes it easier to divvy up the spreadsheet to employees to count specific areas, and then I can combine it all into one. So you'll want to review this. You'll still want to calculate your discrepancies. So here you can see that I have a $5.17 discrepancy that would then load to my general ledger account. And we would say it's my inventory gained lost. And I can post it. And then we would clear on hands. And we're going to pretend this is the entire inventory, remember. So we'll just say all records. And we would clear on hands. We would just continue through this whole thing. Then we would choose update on hands and then continue through the whole thing. So there are lots and lots of ways to do an inventory count. I hope that I gave you some good ideas, and I encourage people to reach out to me with questions before embarking on your big inventory count for the end of the year. and I can help you make a more specific plan.